As I kept asking people what was wrong with Mary, they would say to me, nothing. Take a look at her smile on her face. And I would begin to think, how could this really be happening in my life? That I could have a child that could be as troubled as I'm beginning to suspect she might be. If you look up cheerleader in the dictionary, you see Mary, and she was a cheerleader in high school, and she did have a big smile, but the lights were out. There was no shine behind her eyes. And I remember asking her if there was something she could be upset about or mad about or depressed about or angry or whatever, fully expecting it to be that her grandmother died on the front page of the paper while her mother was running for county commissioner. But instead, that's when we began to learn about some of the stresses that she had in gymnastics and her dating relationships and things that were beginning to manifest for Mary. And having learned that we had the highest teen suicide rate, I began to really be concerned about how this might play out. So I kept taking Mary to doctor after doctor who would say, I don't see anything wrong with her. I would ask the school what was going on at the school, and they would say, she's fine, everything's great, look at her smile. But I could tell from her eyes that the lights were out, and I knew something was wrong. She's getting straight A's, she's secretary of the student body, she's a cheerleader, she's happy, she's healthy. You know, go away, Mom. Marty and I had gone to Steamboat to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary, and at that point we were not letting Mary go much of anywhere without someone who cared about her along for the ride. So Marty's dad went to the football game in Greeley. Mary ended up having a panic attack, and poor Grandpa George had to drive her to the emergency room in Greeley. And that was when people began to realize that there was really something the matter with her. We went to the doctor. I remember going to the doctor and using the word panic attack and him saying that she probably needs to find a therapist, someone she can talk to that's not you. And I said, how do I find one? And he said, you open the phone book. And I don't know if any of you have opened the phone book and looked under therapy, but there's pages and pages and pages of people there. Not too long after that, Mary was in the musical at Poudre High School, and I just had this instinct as a mom that I needed to check and see if she was where she belonged. I'm sure all parents wonder if their kids are really where they told them they were going to be. So I called the school and I asked to talk to the drama coach. Is Mary at musical practice? No, she said she had to go to swim team practice. Called the swim coach and said, is Mary at swim team? No, she's at drama. She told me she had to be at musical practice. For a variety of reasons related to being county commissioner, I had the cell phone number for the school resource officer and called him and asked him if he had seen Mary, and he said, her car is in the parking lot, so come on over here. And while I was driving to Poudre High School, the school resource officer prevented Mary from leaving in her car. And she, much later, told me that that day she intended to drive to Horsetooth and drive off the cliff. And I took her home, I took her car keys away from her, and did let her out of my sight for 3 weeks. I went to class with her. I took her to commissioner meetings. I slept on the floor next to her bed. It took over 3 weeks to find her a therapist who could begin to talk to her about why life wasn't worth living.
The prevalence of mental illness is striking. 1 in 4 adults at some time in their life will suffer a mental illness. For children and adolescents, it's about 1 in 5 that will suffer a mental illness. And that's really the bad news, but the good news is that these are diseases, they're biologically based, they're brain based, and they're treatable. And our outcomes for these diseases are wonderful. Our vision for the future is to be here as a safety net provider for the citizens of Larimer County for the long haul. Larimer Center for Mental Health also prides itself in its accessibility to services. We have 20 locations spread throughout Larimer County. These locations include our clinic-based sites as well as our sites that are in many of the agencies throughout the community, including the Workforce Center, Foothills Gateway, Child Welfare, and others. One of the things we've recently been able to do that we're very proud of is more than double the size of the Spirit Crossing Clubhouse. And now we're able to provide the members of our clubhouse with what is probably one of the premier clubhouse sites in the state of Colorado. This provides our adult consumers assistance with socialization, assistance with employment, assistance with their growth and their recovery in key parts of their lives to ensure that they can be productive and supportive members of society. Our consumers need to be treated close to their community, close to their families, and close to their friends. About half of the people that Larimer Center for Mental Health serves have no means of paying for care. That means if we were not available to serve them, chances are they would receive no care. These are progressive illnesses. These are diseases that, if not treated or if not treated properly, will continue to advance. And given that, people should not have to pay with their lives because they're not able to access necessary mental health services. And again, the urgency associated with ensuring that we can interrupt that process as early as possible, get the appropriate care. And as a result of all of these things, our consumers can live a healthy life.
Mary wouldn't be where she is today. In fact, she might not be a part of our life today if it weren't for the fact that we were able to get her proper therapy, the proper medication, and the help that she needed. So it's important that we have community services like Larimer Center where families can get help and families can get the treatment that they need. I'm Cheryl Olson. I'm the mother of 3 beautiful daughters and 2 wonderful grandchildren.